Real. I think that's everyone. Okay. Welcome everyone again. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for tuning into this AMA and Epoch 7 review. We're excited to keep these up, and we're all aiming to become more transparent and open with our thoughts pertaining to everything dYdX. So, firstly, I'd like to just give a quick shout out here to a small group of people who, some of whom are in this space today, for using their weekend and really past couple of weeks to really help users on the iOS beta launch. These are members of the community who have acted as stewards almost. So thanks to MB, MX, Alexander, Lingabar, and Yancey, all of whom I can see are in the audience today. So that's really great. So let's just start off with a few housekeeping rules. Please keep questions posted in the Discord. This will be monitored throughout and the team will do their best to answer them. So please keep this in the thread that states Epoch 7 review and AMA, although we'll keep an eye out to those that pop up elsewhere. After the Epoch review, what we'll do is we'll open up the stage for an AMA. Please just request to speak up here and we'll invite you up. And if you are invited up, just please refrain from any price discussion. This won't be answered or tolerated, and doing so will result in you getting kicked from the stage and banned from our Discord. So for all the newcomers that have arrived over the past week or two, just please adhere to this. Please listen for existing questions before you post yours to ensure it hasn't already been asked. And when you're on the stage, please only ask one question. In terms of sort of other members of the community answering their thoughts and questions, please stay on topic, and off-topic discussions not related to dYdX or the foundation will be monitored. So here today, as normal from the foundation team, are myself, David and Josh. Carl and Derek from the grants team have joined us on stage. And from the trading team are our routine speakers, Corey and Mark. And for all of you who were early and tuned into the early Epoch days, Everett has also joined us again, which is awesome. So the TLDR of today, David will spend some time going through all things Epoch 7. Question will be addressed to the trading team and touch on all new developments at dYdX, and then Mark will touch on the recent trust structure. Derek and Carl from the grants team are back again, and we'll talk about the grants program and the recent developments there. And David will then answer questions relating to everything foundation. Finally, as normal, we'll be finishing off with an open platform for everyone's questions requested by you here today. So at some point, if you want your questions answered and you want to come up on stage, just request to speak and we'll bring you up towards the end of the AMA. Okay, David, over to you.
Thanks, James, as always, for being a great moderator. So like every other Epoch, we're going to kick things off by just providing some highlights and KPIs for Epoch 7. We'll be publishing all of this on our blog in the near future, but just walking through some of the initial KPIs for everyone to track. So to kick things off, total volume on the dYdX protocol over the Epoch 7 was approximately $67 billion, with average daily volume decreasing slightly versus Epoch 6 to 2.3 billion. Ending open interest increased to 956 million. This has been relatively stable. And total value locked decreased to about 900 million, which has also been relatively stable. Over the course of Epoch 7, 7,300 unique wallets earned 5.8 million dYdX through trading, liquidity provider, and staking rewards. To date, over 47,000 or so unique wallets have previously earned dYdX rewards from retroactive trading and liquidity mining rewards. And as of today, 21,000 unique wallets currently hold dYdX, and about 2,600 or so currently hold staked dYdX. I called this out on the last AMA, but we're continuing to see the trend of an increasing amount of staked dYdX. Currently, there's about 28 million dYdX staked to the pool from nearly 2,600 unique stakers. And so I think overall, this is really encouraging to see kind of longer term dYdX holders staking their tokens, earning additional yield, and backstopping the overall protocol through the safety module. With regards to the liquidity provider reward, so in Epoch 7, there were 37 addresses that were eligible these rewards, with the majority earned by one market maker. So this is the first time we've actually seen one market maker accrue more than 50% of the LP rewards. It's something that we've continued to think about in terms of how we provide sustainable liquidity while still increasing competition in the pool. In prior epochs, market makers meeting the 0.25% threshold are now eligible for the pool following a DRC that was approved by the community. So in the current epoch, there's now 40 addresses, 27 existing and 13 new, that did more than 25 basis points of maker volume in Epoch 7, and thus are eligible to participate in the LP Rewards program in Epoch 8. So overall, we've seen the number of addresses that are eligible for rewards increasing epoch over epoch, and yet the actual distribution of LP rewards continues to accrue to several of the largest players. I think overall this is an area that the community should be focused on around potential ways to improve this formula to, again, ensure sustainable liquidity, but encourage more competition with regards to rewards. So I think, or I know the dYdX grants program has laid out a few RFPs to help address this research question, but I encourage the community to continue to contribute in our forums and think through ways to make this pool more competitive. In terms of the liquidity staking pool, there was 357 million USDC staked from 718 users. At the start of Epoch 8, there's about 230 million USDC, which is actively staked and earning rewards. There's actually one large staker who had staked over $100 million and who had requested to withdraw, I think in Epoch 6. And so starting in Epoch 7, that $100 million ceased or stopped actually earning rewards. It's considered inactive. So for the members of the audience, just remember that if you do request to withdraw your USDC from the liquidity staking pool in the following epoch, it will stop earning rewards. You actually have to you have to restake it to earn rewards. Otherwise, it's actually considered inactive and not earning any rewards. So not the best use of USDC more broadly. With regards to borrowing, there's still 5 market makers that have borrowed USDC from this pool. We've seen an increasing number of market makers and liquidity providers submit profiles on Commonwealth, which is a precondition for being able to be added as community-approved borrowers. Again, I encourage the community to take a look at those profiles, comment, and ultimately, should the community decide, these market makers could be added to the pool and borrow that capital to continue to add liquidity to the overall platform. With regards to circulating supply, at the end of Epoch 7, there's currently 9.56% of the total dYdX supply, excluding the unearned retroactive rewards, which were transferred to the treasury, and the dYdX vested in the community treasury, which we also consider to be liquid. I think what's really interesting here is we're, again, at the start of Epoch 8, and at the end of this epoch, there'll be 10% of the total dYdX supply that will have been distributed to the community. 2 points I want to make. One is that we're still early, right? Most of the dYdX has yet to be earned by community members. All of the distribution pools have been programmed to be distributed over 5 years. So you may think that you're late to the game, but the reality is we're still definitely kind of in the first inning. The second point I'll make is that, again, once we reach the 10% threshold at the start of next epoch, that will mean that the community will be fully in control and be able to submit long time lock proposals and reach quorum without any of the lock tokens or investor tokens that have been required for past votes. So again, if you look at the distribution of dYdX tokens, it's really a progressive decentralization. And with more tokens going into the hands of the community, at the end of this epoch, the community will be able to really pass any type of proposal should it choose without the core team or investors participating. So I think overall that's a really exciting development, and excited to see that come to fruition at the end of this epoch. In terms of governance activity, we continue to see really active discussions and proposals on the forums on Commonwealth. I think most importantly, just today, the snapshot vote for the launch of the Guernsey Purpose Trust and the implementation for the dYdX grants program was nearly unanimously voted in favor of. I think there was close to 550 unique voters on Snapshot, with more than 37 million or so dYdX or staked dYdX voting in favor. This is one of the strongest turnouts we've seen for any proposal, which is really encouraging. And it's great to see so much support for the dYdX grants program, and then this trust structure that really is a huge milestone for the community and the dYdX DAO. And then after the vote passed, we actually announced on Twitter that the dYdX Foundation will be hosting an AMA tomorrow with Mark Boyeron and then the Reverie team to discuss the legal framework for non-US DAOs, the Guernsey Trust, and kind of what the implications mean for the dYdX DAO and dYdX community more broadly. So we shared a tweet earlier this evening. Encourage everyone to attend. That'll be tomorrow at 9 p.m. UTC, Tuesday, 9 p.m. UTC on Twitter Spaces. But that'll be a great forum for further questions that we don't address tonight. Few other updates. So we're lucky to have Derek and Carl from the grants committee. The grants team from Reverie on the call tonight. They'll answer a bunch of questions from the audience. I think what's really exciting to me is today they announced Wave 7 of the grants program, continuing to fund really active community members who are building tooling and cool stuff around the protocol. To date, they've already pledged over $1.8 million worth of dYdX to 47 RFPs or applicants. Again, I think this is one of the most successful grants programs out there. And it's great to see so many community members apply for things. Again, if anyone has any ideas, the grants program still has a lot of funding to allocate. So encourage you to reach out to the grants team or apply directly on their website, check out the RFPs. But I think this is a great way to get involved with the community and build tools that will benefit everyone. On the delegation side, Josh, who's on the call, has really been spearheading the dYdX Foundation's initiative for endorsed delegates. As of today, we actually have 5 community members who have filled out all the required information to become endorsed delegates. And we encourage, if you're interested, to check out the post on Commonwealth and apply to be an endorsed delegate. Few last updates. Obviously the dYdX trading announced the Hedges collection. For anyone who's new in the audience, that was 4,200, a collection of 4,200 unique NFTs, of which 2,443 were included in the initial distribution. Those hedges can continue to be earned by traders who are participating in the trading leagues. The trading team has released in the last epoch a custom explorer So you can see the entire collection and search via trades, IDs, or backgrounds. I think overall, it's really exciting to see all of the activity around hedges and how many new people that's brought into the community. Again, I think we're still super early in terms of really building a community around hedges, and I'm encouraged by the level of participation in the weekly hedges huddle AMA that is held on Discord. Again, if anyone has any ideas on how to grow the hedges community, we're excited to hear your thoughts. Lastly, on the hedges point, so the foundation purchased 205 hedges from dYdX Trading. We released a blog post on Commonwealth not too long ago announcing plans on how we plan to distribute those. We'll actually be announcing later this week on our first allocation or distribution to active community members. Again, you don't have to necessarily be a trader to earn a hedge. The other way to earn a hedge is really to be active in governance, active within the community, and provide value. So I'm excited to share more details on that later this week. Last few updates on the trading side, just so that everyone's aligned. So obviously dYdX Trading announced the start of the dYdX beta program for iOS. This is really a huge milestone for DeFi, as this is one of the first DeFi protocols to have a mobile application. And so with this, dYdX is quickly, if not has already approached kind of parity from a product perspective with many of the leading sexes. And so hopefully, I'm sure a lot of members in the audience have signed up for the beta. I think the team obviously really appreciates all the feedback, and that's getting integrated within the product over the next few weeks before a full public launch. Lastly, I want to continue to reiterate that there's currently a fee holiday for traders on dYdX. Fees were reduced by 66% for approximately 3 months, which is still active. So, right now is a great time to really test out the protocol with, the lowest fees possible, earn rewards, and get involved with the community. Lastly, just in terms of administrative steps, so Epoch 7 ended on March 15th at 3 p.m. UTC. As per usual, the rewards will be claimable on the website starting tomorrow at about 7 p.m. or around 7:51 p.m. to be exact, which is 7 days after the end of the epoch with a 5-hour delay. As always, once tokens have been claimed, they can be transferred, staked to the safety module, or delegated to endorsed delegates or other participants within dYdX governance. Thanks a lot, and that's it on my side.
Thank you for that, David. Okay, great. Let's move on to the pre-populated questions from the Discord. I guess firstly for Corey and Everett and the trading team, I'll say a lot of people from here have been brought in from the iOS beta launch. How has the iOS beta launch gone so far, and is there an ETA for a public release?
Yeah, I can take that one. Can you guys hear me, by the way?
Yep, loud and clear.
Fantastic. So the iOS beta launch has gone really well. We received a ton of interest on our wait lists, and so we're working on getting as many people into the beta as we can. The amount of feedback that we've gotten has been also fantastic. So thank you to everyone who has helped to test and has given that detailed feedback. John's been working really hard to address everything that you guys are bringing up, from bugs to feature requests to localization issues. All that stuff is being triaged and it's being tracked, and we're working on it. On the public release side, we're still thinking probably early Q2, so that's sometime next month. There has been a lot of feedback, and we want to make sure we ship a quality product to you guys. So I'm not going to index super hard on that deadline. But we will provide updates as development progresses.
Awesome. Thanks, Everett. And then, are there any new updates or product releases additionally to the iOS beta planned over the next few months?
Specifically for the iOS beta?
Just I think generally, is there anything in the pipeline that's, I guess, open to the dYdX community now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yes, there's a lot in the pipeline. A lot of it is actually coming from the community. A lot of these are requests that we've heard for the last couple of months. And just to maybe set some more context, a lot of our work, a lot of our dev time has gone into just working on the reliability of the platform in the last couple of months. And so we're getting closer to the end of that project where we feel that the exchange reliability is in a decent place. And so the next couple months are going to be focused on a lot of those features that you guys have requested. And so at the top of that, we've got new market listings. That's something that has been widely requested, all different kinds of markets. And so we doubled down on the process around listing those markets, and you guys should be seeing a lot of new markets soon. Other features, reduce only, for sure, is in the pipeline. It's actively being worked on right now. We've got bracket orders coming. We've got a referral program so that you guys can refer your friends and earn a kickback on the fees that they pay. Some other social features as well. There's a lot in the pipeline. And then on top of all of that, of course, we have V4 as well.
No, that's awesome. That's super exciting to hear. And then a kind of a more broad open question for you and Corey. Can you talk about any specifics with V4 progress?
It's a good question. It's a very large project, and there's a lot of different components that are still in flux, and so we're not quite at a point where we're ready to share out progress updates. That being said, I can give a general update in the sense that things are going well, and we're still on track to meet our goals to launch, towards the end of this year. And of course, it's also going to be fully decentralized. If you guys haven't read the blog post that we put out a couple weeks or months ago, a lot of that information is still relevant. So definitely check that out if you have a chance.
Awesome. Thanks for that. And then from a merchandise perspective, I know there's been some hints in the community that we're getting potentially some merch. Is there an ETA when this is getting released at all?
Sure. Yeah. So I think there's actually some merch ongoing conversations with the grants program. I guess maybe like Derek could take that later on in the conversation. But yeah, we are doing some like small testing batches of merch in the meantime that our company is just creating. And so, for instance, if you're going to be at some of these events that we're going to, so we're actually going to be at NFTLA next week. And so if any of you guys are in LA and are going to that conference, we should have some hedgy merch that people could take away if you're an attendee at that conference. So other than that, don't have too much to share at the moment, but people are working on it.
And then I guess based on the partnership side of things, are there any partnerships that the community can expect from dYdX in the future?
Partnerships, maybe Corey can,
Yeah, so, there are definitely like other people that are building and trying to integrate with dYdX. I'd say one example that was like pretty recent was an OEMS provider called Algotrader. So they're kind of one of the leading OEMS providers out there. Basically what that means is it's an order execution management system. So a lot of funds and institutions, they use these types of products to access a lot of different exchanges at once and kind of have like sophisticated order routing as well as sophisticated permissioning for people on their teams. So dYdX was the very first decentralized exchange to integrate with an OEMS provider like that. And so I think it's a testament to kind of the API tooling that we've been able to build. where a lot of these types of products can start to integrate with dYdX. And ultimately what that means is like increasing volumes over time, as well as just like better liquidity. So, the more institutions that access dYdX, the more liquidity and kind of demand for the platform there's going to be. So stuff like that is kind of ongoing in the future. Also super excited about all the integrations that the grants teams are working on as well. But yeah, a lot of those fundings are kind of public, and will be better suited to be answered by the grants team specifically.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. That's great. And then touching on kind of the legal aspect, Mark, can you touch upon the new legal structure that's just gone through the snapshot voting?
Sure. So basically, if you think of a DAO in general, it's pretty difficult for a DAO to act in a way that's actually efficient, also compliant from like a legal and tax perspective across the board. And, I think from one perspective, you could take the position that it's not really important when you've got like a distributed group of folks. They can kind of do whatever they want. But frankly, that ends up putting the individuals who are putting the time into it at risk. And so the idea with the Guernsey trust structure is to create something that like fits neatly into a DAO without really taking, for lack of a better word, the DAO-ness out of a DAO, but also kind of achieving some key goals. And three goals that I think a DAO is generally lacking in is providing limited liability protection for those participating, being able to actually act in the real world, and then tax issues. And so with the DAO structure, the way that you kind of maintain the DAO-ness of the DAO in this is that, first of all, there's no obligation to go to like a government and request like permission to create a trust. It's a legal agreement that ends up getting signed essentially between the trustees, which are the grants committee right now, and then the enforcer, which for dYdX would be Reverie. And at that point, the trust kind of comes into existence when assets, being the multi-sig that the committee currently controls, gets put into this trust. The token holders retain a lot of control, which is what gives it kind of its DAO-ness. While the trustees can do whatever they want on a day-to-day basis, just like they could now with the multi-sig, being make decisions around grants, actually distribute those funds, the token holders end up having a lot of decision-making around things like who the trustees are, removing trustees, removing an enforcer, adding an enforcer, actually terminating the trust and saying, we don't want this trust to be in existence anymore. And so all of those things end up being possible. When you do that, basically what you have is the token holders getting to decide what ends up happening with the assets in the trust. The one part that ends up being a little bit different with this trust existing is that the assets in the trust can't go back to the token holders at any point in time. So if right now, dYdX token holders decided, hey, we created this trust, we have assets in it, we don't want it anymore. Basically, those assets could be used for anything else that the token holders decide, except sending them back to themselves. And I think at later stages, if you fast forward 10 years of a DAO's life, that might not actually make sense at that point in time to continue iterating in that way. But early on, when assets are basically being used for growth and really nothing else, it makes a lot of sense. And so with this structure now, basically what it does is it allows the trust to go ahead and sign agreements. The trustees are protected when they're signing the agreements so that they're not liable, which gives them an incentive to be able to act without kind of any concern there. And then from a tax perspective, it basically protects, especially people in the U.S., tax holders token holders in the U.S. who could potentially be U.S. people from anything. Now, for dYdX, that doesn't matter, right? There's no U.S. focus there. But for other DAOs, that ends up being an important part of it. And so Where it does matter for dYdX, though, is that dYdX, the grants committee plans on, exchanging dYdX tokens for USDC to pay out US grantees, for example, because it can't send dYdX to the US. And so that this trust structure allows them to do it in a tax efficient way, meaning that there are no taxes that get paid upon that exchange, instead of otherwise needing to find a way to comply with taxes or being, subject to one day a government agency saying you owe us taxes for this, and looking to certain participants in the DAO for it. So I'll leave it at that. And if anyone has questions, happy to answer them.
That's awesome. Thanks, Mark. Yeah, super excited to go deeper on that as well tomorrow in your Twitter Spaces AMA. And then I guess moving on to the grants team, Carl and Derek, can you provide any updates on the grants process for applications in the recently released round?
So for this question, it's phrased in a way that I'm not certain if they're asking for pending applications or applications that have been approved. So I can answer it in both understandings. For approved applications, so grants that have been funded, we're making lots of great progress. We'll be providing lots of updates in the coming weeks with the kind of initial rounds, with lots of teams completing or making significant headway on the grants that have been funded. Chaos Labs, for example, provided a blog update yesterday, and they'll be providing additional information on kind of that first round of grants of tools that they were building. We saw Max complete his. We're seeing a bunch of newsletters come out. And now that we've unlocked this kind of payment capability is where we'll start to see significant improvement on kind of rollouts and progress, given that we'll now be able to actually fund initial setup costs and just things that were initially stalled due to a lack of payment capabilities. With regards to pending applications, we continue to kind of process as quickly as possible. We obviously appreciate the community being generous and patient with us as we do our best to be efficient and quick, while also providing kind of the best possible feedback and making sure that we do our due diligence very thoroughly in order to kind of keep a high quality of approved applicants. But we are sticking to our weekly time frame of responding and providing feedback to all applications within 1 week of their submission date. Hopefully that answers this question.
Yeah, thanks, Carl. That's great. And then just finally, I mean, is there a sort of primary specific focus for any specific grant application now? So are there any RFPs that you're really looking out for or you're really focusing on?
Yeah, so something that we haven't really seen is like governance related grants, right? So we have seen quite a bit of like trading tools, which are great. We obviously love to see, and they have high impact. And once they start rolling out, I think it's going to be really fun when we have like a playground for our community to be able to play around with all these tools. We've seen newsletters and we've seen kind of dashboards come out, but we haven't seen much with regards to governance. So we are looking for governance advocates. We're looking for kind of participants who can help own the governance process and promote it. And beyond that, we're also looking for more utility across both hedges and the actual dYdX token. So that means onboarding it onto different platforms as collateral or just kind of as a trading asset, and then making more use of the hedgy. We've seen a couple grants come in, but we are always looking to implement the hedges and make use of them across the space. So anything that people can come up with there will be awesome, and we'll keep working on our end to push out more RFPs and think of new ideas for additional applicants to come in.
Awesome. Thanks, Carl. That's really great. And then moving on to David at the foundation, is there any advice for people who want to contribute or participate but don't really feel like they have the skill set right now for this?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think there's a lot of different ways to contribute to the protocol. And there's no like specified skill set to get involved. I think at a minimum, it's joining the community, it's participating in the Discord, it's asking questions, it's helping other people out. It's looking at the Commonwealth forums, answering and replying to active threads. You could apply to a dYdX grant. You could submit a proposal. You could become an endorsed delegate. Really the world is your oyster. If you see or experience a pain point, chances are you're not the only one. That could be taking live, notes of the current Epoch 7 review AMA and posting that on Twitter. Or it could be designing different forms of advertising or collateral, really anything. So, right now, I think we have a channel on Discord and a forum to volunteer. I think we've had, frankly, like several hundred people offer to volunteer. I think you don't have to wait from anyone from the team to just get started. So, again, if you see opportunity, go for it. You can always apply for a grant from the grants committee and submit your own kind of RFP for any opportunity you see fit. And then, in the not too distant future, we've been working on launching a formal ambassador program. And so, that'll be kind of a more formalized structure to get involved with various kind of working groups focused on different functional areas for the protocol and the DAO. So yeah, I think right now those are just like some ideas, but again, encourage anyone who wants to contribute to really DM me or anyone from the foundation team, and I'm sure we can put you in touch with the right people or give you some pointers on how to get involved.
Brilliant, thanks, David. And then just a brief one on the kind of difference between foundation and trading. So how is the foundation's focus different from dYdX trading's focus right now?
I think that's a great question. Overall, the dYdX Foundation's mission is really to accelerate the transition towards community control over the protocol and any future version of the protocol. I think largely speaking, the dYdX Foundation team is really focused on everything dYdX token, governance, and DAO related. We don't focus necessarily as much on kind of the engineering behind the version 3 exchange or version 4. And ultimately, we're really focused on working with the community to formalize kind of the dYdX DAO so that once version 4 launches at the end of this year, that protocol, as Everett mentioned, will be fully controlled and governed by the community. The community already has control over the current version of the protocol, or at least most aspects of it, but V4 will be fully in the hands of the community. And so I think it just takes time for the community to really level up its game to take on kind of that responsibility. And so the foundation team really is working on shepherding that, helping on education, user onboarding, and getting community members involved with the community today to really best position the success of V4 and the community control at the end of this year.
Awesome, thanks, David. And then how do people go about sort of showcasing their contributions? So obviously in the Hedgie distribution doc earlier this month, is it worth the community voicing or reaching out to a team member just so they're aware of their contributions and efforts? Or, is this just going to be through actual, production of certain content and creation of that type of media?
Yeah, I think objectively speaking, it's hard to measure contribution because just like people contribute in different ways. As I mentioned earlier, it's not just about pushing code to GitHub. It could be creating, really awesome tweet storms or creating videos or translating content into a new language, among many other ways to be, an active contributor in the space. I think I encourage anyone who is contributing to proactively share your contributions with the community. And that could be, again, on Discord, it could be on Commonwealth, I think the dYdX grants team is in the process or has like hired a designer to revamp their website, and will showcase grant applicants there as well. But overall, if you are working on something, make sure people know about it. And certainly, the whole team is actively looking at Discord or social media channels, and we definitely see kind of the high quality output that's being provided. So I think the more your tool is useful for the broader community, the more likely it's going to be on our radar, and that'll be things that we'll try to incentivize and reward over the long run.
Awesome. Thanks, David. And then finally, sort of what does being an endorsed delegate incorporate? Sort of how much work is required to become endorsed, and will this matter if, say, the community don't have a huge following on social? Is it literally just, can they provide a huge value to dYdX to become an endorsed delegate?
Hey, James, sorry, could you repeat the question?
Yeah, sure. So I guess, what does being an endorsed delegate incorporate? How much work goes into being an endorsed delegate? And does it really matter if they haven't really got a huge following on social, aren't really sort of, I guess, big in the crypto or DeFi ecosystem? Can anyone be an endorsed delegate?
Yeah, so I think endorsed delegates can really be any one of our active community members. I don't think it matters if you have a previous following in crypto. What we're really looking for is people to engage in the dYdX community. In terms of onboarding, there are pretty detailed instructions on Commonwealth. I'm also happy to kind of engage with anybody who wants to onboard. Please feel free to DM me. In terms of the onboarding process, I think it's pretty smooth. You can look on Commonwealth for examples of our other endorsed delegates and how they've onboarded, or again, I'm always happy to answer questions.
Awesome. Okay, great.
Jim, the only thing I'd add is I think just as a general observation, obviously we've seen a ton of activity on Discord, which is really amazing to see. I think generally speaking, we see a little less activity on the forums on Commonwealth. And I think a big responsibility and role for endorsed delegates is really to look at the proposals, the DRCs, and the DIPs on Commonwealth that are submitted by community members, to review them, analyze them, and then provide valuable, constructive feedback to any submitter. Ultimately, we want people to review these proposals. We want people to review the code, and we want people to have an opinion. And these proposals iterate over time. So, I think if you are interested in becoming an endorsed delegate, I encourage you to not only participate on Discord, but also be very proactive on Commonwealth and engage and try to see where the opportunities for improvement for the protocol are, and participate in the overall governance lifecycle.
Brilliant.
I think following up on that as well, you can see the specific profiles that we have kind of represented so far. So some community members, we have Woo DAO, as well as some student groups. So I think if you belong to any of those groups, or you think that you fall into another category, welcome your inputs and feedback. But I'll echo what David said. Really what we're looking for is people to critically analyze and engage with the proposals and kind of distribute critical thinking and knowledge across the dYdX community.
Yeah, and then lastly, we understand that there's some friction, especially with regards to gas fees, to participate in on-chain votes. Empirically, we've seen higher turnout for snapshot votes, which don't require gas, versus on-chain votes. But a lot of decisions that actually change the smart contracts require on-chain votes, and there's really no way around that. And so I think a big, responsibility for these endorsed delegates is ultimately, if you're a small token holder and you don't have the time or the expertise or really want to vote on every single proposal, and you think governance is important, ultimately we're trying to get more tokens into the hands of either subject matter experts and or people who are going to be very proactive in participating and reviewing every proposal out there, which net I think should benefit all community members. So again, this is a work in progress, but right now we have 5 endorsed delegates, and I think there's a lot of room for different types of profiles. Again, as Josh mentioned, there's university blockchain clubs, there's other DAOs, and then there's one individual as well. So there's really no standard here. It's really around, are you willing to put in the time and be a leader within the broader community who participates in governance.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. That's great. Okay, so I guess we've got 10 minutes to go. We'll use this time for like an open stage AMA. So if anyone's got any questions and they want to be brought up, just raise your hand and just ask. Okay, brilliant. Lingabar, you're up. I'll just invite you up.
So my question is, 1 second.
Yeah, no problem.
So my question is, are you planning to develop your NFT project, and is it possible to make various collaborations or anything else?
Yeah, I can take that one. On the NFT side, yes, like kind of more utility for NFTs, stuff like that. The NFTs that we build, the hedgies, they do meet the standards of, just like the typical NFTs. And so technically anyone, if they wanted to, could integrate hedgies into their project and give it some kind of integration or some kind of utility. On our side, there's a couple ideas that we're thinking about, but we would also just love to hear from the community ideas of different ways you guys think that hedgies could be integrated into the product, either the trading product or governance or something like that as well.
Yeah, and I think I can also touch on that, Lingabar. So we've now also got a kind of part-time community manager on board who really knowledgeable about all things NFTs and is really passionate about hedgies, who will also go around and organise, say, like NFT to NFT community collabs and joint AMAs in that sense. And I know from a grants perspective as well is that there's grants where a few community members have applied for developing out the hedgies from like a cartoon aspect, from I guess like a trading education aspect. So there's definitely exciting things that are in the pipeline, and it's something that we definitely focusing on more and more as time goes on. Nick, you should have an invite to come on now.
Oh, yep. All right. Hey, guys. Thank you for taking the time. Great, thorough conversation here. So, yeah, I have a question regarding, as we know, the geo restrictions on the protocol for U.S. users. I have a good idea why that's in place. I've done a lot of reading up on dYdX and watching a bunch of interviews with Antonio. So I don't really need to ask why that's the case. But in kind of looking forward and looking ahead to V4 and this ultimate path to full decentralization, are there any areas that you guys could speak of to potentially kind of forecast how maybe the full decentralization might alleviate these geo restrictions and ultimately open up the protocol to US users? Is that something, I know it's touchy and I know there's a good chance you probably can't even answer that, but wondering if there's any way kind of forecast for the community?
No, I think Nick, I'll probably, if Mark is not here, I'll probably try and just get a response to you directly with that from Mark, if that's all right.
Much appreciated, and apologies. I know it's a red hot probably question, but yeah, if there's any way to get some color on that, I'd appreciate that.
Okay, brilliant. Yeah, I'll speak to you in the DMs anyway. Great.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thanks, Nick. Dio should be invited up. Brilliant. There we are.
Hello guys, can you hear me clearly?
Yep, all good.
My question was about testnet in the iOS. Are you guys going to reward the guys that found some bugs, that invested their time to make your product better?
I can take this one. We haven't announced any program like that, but if we do have one, we'll let you guys know as soon as possible.
Thanks.
So there is no plans about testnet rewards, right?
I guess no current plans right now.
No current plans, correct.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Dior.
I'm done.
Appreciate your time. Thank you. Volod Cheng, hopefully you should be invited up.
I invited referrals and did not get access to the beta testing.
I think,
how can I get access to testing?
I think there's been a lot of sign-ups. I think just be patient and give it some time. I do think that will eventually come. So yeah, just keep an eye out for your emails with those types of questions. They should be coming to your emails soon, I guess. Everett, I'm not sure if you've got anything to add there.
Yeah, not really. We had a lot of signups, probably a little bit more than we expected, and so yeah, your patience would be greatly appreciated.
Okay.
Thanks for that, Cheng. Okay, let's bring you back up, Lingabar.
So guys, I have one more question, but it's not from me, it's from maybe Nov Alexander.
Okay.
Yes, he can't talk right now, so I will tell you by him. So he asked, do you plan to do some benefits to your NFT holders? That's the question.
I think it's a similar question to the one you actually asked earlier, Lingbar. I would probably give the same answer in the sense that, yeah, we're definitely thinking about it. And it sounds like there's a couple community managers and potential grants program applicants who are also thinking about the same thing.
So, for example, I don't know, Carrefour, yes, they not a long time ago did like an IRL meeting.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think that's
probably you have same plans.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, and I think that's something that is absolutely on the horizon and roadmap. We'd love to get as many hedgy holders and into IRL meetings, in digital meetings, in gated access meetings. I think that is definitely in our plans for the future. I think just right now, with everything being incredibly focused on the release of the iOS app, it's largely, I can just say it's largely in the works over the next few months. I think from that standpoint, Lingabar, if there's anything like that, like IRL events and different types of benefits that you feel the NFT holders should have, then by all means, I think keep posting in the Hedgy Holders channel. And it's something that myself and other community managers and other core team members look at frequently and do note down. So this is something that we're actively looking at.
Okay. And if I can ask, so I noticed that you sometimes add like new NFTs, yes? So in your plans, how much do you want hedges to be? Like 5K, 10K, you know?
Yeah, I mean, from a price standpoint, that's not something that we really think about or even discuss. I think for us, it's more so that we really want hedges to become like a forward-thinking brand, like to be the front for dYdX as such, and be a sort of like an item that the community can be really excited about and run with, as discussed in the community and on the previous AMA. You know, holders have IP rights there and they can do what they like with their hedgy. So I feel like, you know, essentially it's the community's decision on where to go with this. So if there's lots of ideas that are coming from you all, then fantastic. Then we can start to implement that.
Thanks for answering, guys.
Brilliant. Thanks, Lingabar. Cool. Okay, so we've been going on for an hour. I guess we'll call that a day. I really appreciate it, and thanks for everyone for tuning in, for spending their time listening in, posting questions and asking the team for really detailed questions and responses. I guess finally, just to say, keep up the comments and interaction. It's really encouraging to see all the support and knowledge that all you guys have in the community. I'd say if there's anything you want to see more of, if there's any way you feel that we could run these meetings differently, that'll be more interactive, then we'd love to have your feedback. Reach out to me in the Discord or any other core team. I will finally just touch on say that one of the community members also created a sort of a community Twitter. The Boring Trader created it, and I think it's a great way to interact and really engaging. So you can see all the recent dYdX announcements there. It aggregates all the info, and it's just a great way for the community to catch up and chat through there. Keep an eye out on the announcements post. It's always releasing new information from a social standpoint and the official link standpoint. So let's end on that note. This will be deciphered as usual and posted as soon as we can. As usual, there's a process behind and involved in the background.